20 months. That's how long some Florida homes are now sitting on the market. Not 20 days, not 20 weeks, 20 months, and nobody's buying. Right now, there are Florida towns where 1 in 3 front lawns has a for sale sign, and half of them are so sun-faded you can tell they've been stuck there since last year. Here's what should terrify every homeowner. A healthy market clears its homes in about 6 months. Some of these towns, they're drowning in 9, 12, even 20 months of unsold houses. That's enough for sale signs to take 2 full years to disappear. So what killed the hottest housing market in America? Why won't these homes sell, even after the price cuts? The answer isn't what you think. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 10 towns are in trouble and whether yours is next. Number 10, Cape Coral. We have to start here because Cape Coral has quietly become the most talked about troubled housing market in the entire country. And once you understand why, the rest of this list clicks into place. Let's hit you with the hard number first. Cape Coral is carrying roughly 9.8 months of single-family inventory in 2026. Remember our rule, a balanced market sits around 6 months. So Cape Coral has almost double the healthy amount of homes just sitting. The median home now waits about 69 days before it finds a buyer. And prices across the broader Cape Coral-Fort Myers metro have fallen around 9% year over year, according to early 2026 data. But here's the part almost everyone misses. Cape Coral wasn't built like a normal town. It was built on thousands of near-identical canal homes, mass-produced during the boom years. Picture street after street of the same floor plan, the same look, the same price tag. Now imagine all those owners deciding to sell at once. When everybody's selling the exact same product, buyers have zero reason to rush and zero reason to overpay. There's no scarcity, no urgency, no fear of missing out. And without that fear, a market simply stalls. That's exactly what happened. The very thing that made Cape Coral explode on the way up, endless identical inventory, is now the anchor dragging it down. Sellers are competing against dozens of copies of their own home. So what do you do with this? If you're buying in Cape Coral, you are negotiating from a position of real power. Hunt for listings that have been sitting past 60 days. Those sellers are usually exhausted, nervous, and one reasonable offer away from saying yes. If you're selling, you cannot afford to be stubborn. You're not competing with the market anymore. You're competing with your neighbor's identical house 3 doors down. Price sharp or prepare to wait. Number 9, Punta Gorda. Just up the coast sits Punta Gorda. And if Cape Coral is the poster child, Punta Gorda is the cautionary tale nobody saw coming. Brace yourself for this number. Metro home prices here are down a staggering 25% from their July 2022 peak. Let that sink in. If you bought at the top, roughly 1/4 of your home's value has simply evaporated. That's one of the steepest corrections anywhere in the entire country, not just Florida. So why did Punta Gorda get hit this hard? The answer is a word we'll keep coming back to: hype. During the pandemic migration wave, Punta Gorda got discovered. It was cheap, it was coastal, it had that sleepy old Florida charm, and suddenly everyone wanted in at once. Remote workers, retirees, investors, flippers. Prices didn't climb on solid local income or steady demand. They shot up on excitement. And here's the brutal truth about hype. It's the first thing to vanish when reality shows up. And reality in Florida arrives in the form of a skyrocketing insurance bill. When those buyers realized the true cost of ownership, the premiums, the risk, the storms, the demand that inflated the balloon simply walked away. And a market built on excitement has nothing to hold it up once the excitement fades. Here's your practical takeaway, and it's a big one. A 25% drop sounds like the deal of a lifetime, and it might be. But do not anchor your thinking to that 2022 peak price. That number was a fantasy, and fantasies don't come back on schedule. Instead, look at what comparable homes are actually closing for today, right now, this month. Pull the real sold data. Because in a market that's already fallen 25%, the single most dangerous mistake you can make is assuming it has to bounce straight back up. Number 8, Northport. Next door, Northport shows us something more unsettling than a price crash. It shows us a market freezing in slow motion right before your eyes. Not long ago, Northport and the wider Sarasota County area were suffering a desperate shortage of homes. Buyers were fighting, bidding wars were normal, anything decent sold in a weekend. Fast forward to 2026, and the county is now sitting on roughly 3,800 active listings. A dramatic, almost dizzying swing from famine to flood. But the number that truly tells the story isn't the inventory. It's the days on market. Watch this. In the Northport, Sarasota, Bradenton area, median days on market climbed month after month through mid-2026, 73 days in March, 77 in April, 82 in May, and up to the mid-80s by June. That's a market getting slower every single month. And Northport prices are now down around 17% from their peak. Here's why that matters so much. When homes take longer to sell and prices keep drifting down at the same time, you get a dangerous feedback loop. Buyers see the slowdown and think, why buy now? It'll be cheaper next month. So they wait. That waiting creates more unsold inventory. More inventory pushes prices down further, which makes buyers wait even longer. Round and round it goes, a market talking itself into paralysis. So here's the practical gold. And please remember this one. Rising days on market is the single most underrated warning sign in all of real estate. Everyone watches prices, but prices move last. Days on market moves first. It's the early tremor before the earthquake. If you're watching any Florida town, including your own, and you see that number climbing 3, 4, 5 months in a row, that's your signal. The market is cooling long before the headlines admit it. Number 7, Naples. Now let's talk about serious money, because the next town proves that even massive wealth can't stop this. Naples is one of the richest addresses in all of Florida. Manicured golf communities, Gulfront estates, Ferraris in the driveway. If any market should be bulletproof, it's this one. And yet, brace yourself, in the $1.5 million and up luxury segment, Naples was sitting on around 20 months of supply in 2026. 20 months. Say it slowly. At the very top of the Naples market, a home can linger, unsold, for over a year and a half. Imagine listing a stunning multi-million-dollar estate and watching 2 Christmases go by with that sign still stuck in the lawn. Here's the counterintuitive truth most people get completely backwards. They assume expensive homes are the safest bet. In reality, luxury is the most fragile tier in any downturn. Think about it. How many people on earth can actually write a $1.5 million check? A tiny pool. And the few who can are patient, unemotional, and impossible to rush. They don't panic buy. They don't get swept up in bidding wars. They sit back, sip their coffee, and wait for the perfect deal. So when the tide goes out in Florida, the mansions are the very last thing to sell, because there's almost nobody left to buy them. That's how you end up with 20 months of gorgeous, empty luxury just sitting on the market. Here's your practical move, and it's aimed at a specific person. If you're a high-end buyer, this is your moment, maybe the best in a decade. In a 20-month market, the seller needs you far more than you need them. A serious, well-structured cash offer that comes in well under asking isn't insulting anymore. In a market this slow, it's exactly what sellers are quietly praying for. Number 6, Marco Island. Right beside Naples sits Marco Island. And this beautiful little paradise introduces us to the single biggest villain in this entire story. A villain that shows up again and again, the Florida condo. Here are the numbers. Gulfront condos on Marco Island were carrying nearly 15 months of inventory, with some units priced around $1.5 million just sitting there, unwanted, month after month. And off-island condos weren't faring much better. For a spot this stunning, sugar sand beaches, sunset views, the whole postcard, that kind of stagnation should feel impossible. So what on earth is going on? 2 words, write them down. Special assessments. Here's what happened. After Florida overhauled its structural safety and reserve laws, condo associations across the state were forced to fully fund their repair reserves. No more kicking the can down the road. And that mountain of deferred maintenance is now landing directly on individual owners as enormous, unexpected bills. We're not talking a few $100s. We're talking assessments that can run tens of thousands, sometimes six figures. Now picture it from a buyer's chair. You find a dreamy ocean view condo, the price even looks reasonable, and then you learn a $100,000 special assessment is attached to it or looming just around the corner. Suddenly that affordable slice of paradise is a financial landmine. So buyers walk, and the condo sits, and the sign never comes down. This is the practical warning that could save you a fortune. Never, and I mean never, buy a Florida condo without doing two things first. 1. Read the reserve study cover to cover. 2. Ask directly in writing about any pending or upcoming special assessments. That unbelievable deal on a beachfront unit could be hiding a 5 or 6 figure trap that turns your dream into a nightmare. Number 5, Ocala. By now you might be thinking, okay, this is clearly a coastal thing. Beach towns, hurricane zones, waterfront condos. And that's exactly what makes our next town so important, because Ocala blows that comfortable theory to pieces. Ocala isn't on the coast. There are no beaches, no Gulf front high-rises, no hurricane storm surge to blame. This is inland horse country, rolling pastures, oak trees, quiet ranches. It was supposed to be the safe, sensible, affordable alternative to all that coastal chaos. And yet, Ocala landed squarely on the national lists of cities with falling home prices in early 2026. So how did a peaceful inland town end up in the same trouble as the beach markets? The answer is that affordability itself became a trap. For years, Ocala was cheap, and cheap acted like a magnet. It pulled in speculators, investors, and remote work migrants, all chasing a bargain, all at the same time. That flood of outside demand pushed prices up fast, far beyond what the local economy could naturally support. Then, when that outside demand cooled off, and it always eventually does, Ocala had nothing underneath to hold prices up. No scarcity, no runaway local incomes, no hidden reserve of buyers. Just air. And this is the lesson that should genuinely change how you look at the entire state. This slowdown is not just a beach story anymore. It's crawling inland, seeping into the exact, affordable markets that everyone swore were untouchable. Here's your practical takeaway. Stop assuming a town is safe simply because it's cheap or because it's far from the water. Cheap is not the same as stable. Before you buy in any Florida market, in coastal or inland, pull that local months of supply number. Check the days on market, because as Ocala just proved, distance from the ocean guarantees you absolutely nothing. Number 4, Lakeland Winter Haven. If Ocala was the inland surprise, Lakeland Winter Haven is the smart money pick that turns sour, and it teaches a lesson every single Florida buyer needs to hear. Look at Lakeland on a map, and it seems perfect. It sits right in the sweet spot between Tampa and Orlando, close to 2 major job hubs, 2 airports, 2 entertainment capitals, but priced well below either coast. For years, this was the town savvy buyers whispered about. All the access, none of the coastal price tag. It felt bulletproof. And yet, Lakeland Winter Haven still showed up on 2026 price decline lists. How? The answer is a concept I want to burn into your memory: borrowed demand. Here's the thing. Lakeland never really grew on its own strength. It grew as the overflow valve for people who got priced out of Tampa and Orlando. When those big metros got too expensive, buyers spilled outward into Lakeland, and the town boomed on that spillover. But that demand was never truly theirs. It was borrowed from the neighbors. So when Tampa and Orlando finally cooled off, the overflow simply stopped. There was no more spillover to catch. And Lakeland's momentum drained away right along with it, because it was never generating that energy itself in the first place. That's the hidden danger of commuter towns and overflow markets. They rise fast, powered by someone else's heat, and they fall just as fast the moment that heat disappears. So here's your practical rule, and it applies far beyond Lakeland. When you're eyeing a commuter town or an affordable alternative near a big city, don't just study that town. Study the big metro next door. Its health is your town's real fate. Watch the neighbor's prices, the neighbor's inventory, the neighbor's job market, because that's what's actually pulling the strings. Number 3, Palm Bay. Our next town, Palm Bay on the Space Coast, might be the most eye-opening market on this entire list, because it destroys the one comforting belief almost everyone clings to. If prices just drop, homes will sell again. Watch what actually happened. In Palm Bay, inventory roughly doubled. The median price slid down to somewhere around $315,000 to $355,000, off a few percent year over year. On paper, that's the recipe for a buying frenzy. More homes, lower prices. Buyers should be swarming, right? Except they're not. Homes in Palm Bay still aren't flying off the shelves, and that is the twist that reveals everything. The culprit is a stubborn affordability gap of around $20,000 between what homes actually cost and what local incomes can realistically support. And here's the crucial insight. Lower prices don't fix that gap, because the price on the sign is not what's crushing buyers. What's crushing them is the monthly payment. And in Florida, that monthly payment is being inflated from 3 directions at once: sky-high insurance premiums, heavy property taxes, and elevated interest rates. You can slash the sticker price by 10 grand, but if the insurance bill alone adds hundreds of dollars every single month, the real cost of owning that home barely moves. So the homes just sit, cheaper than before and still out of reach. Here is the practical takeaway that separates smart buyers from the crowd. Stop obsessing over the sticker price. That number is a distraction. The figure that actually determines whether a market moves and whether you can afford it is the total monthly carrying cost. Add it all up: mortgage, insurance, taxes, HOA. In Florida, insurance is the wild card that quietly wrecks budgets. Always get a real insurance quote before you fall in love, never after. Number 2, Port St. Lucie. Down on the Treasure Coast, our runner-up gives you something rare: a market where you can practically watch sellers panic in real time. Welcome to Port St. Lucie, the price reduction capital of the region. Here's the setup. Median prices in Port St. Lucie are down roughly 3 to 4% year over year. Inventory is elevated, and local agents are describing a market where price cuts have become the norm, not the exception, but the expected move, just to get a single buyer to walk through the door. Sellers here aren't trimming a few thousand off and calling it a day. They're slashing, waiting, hearing silence, and slashing again. And this reveals something powerful: the psychology of a buyer's market in full bloom. Follow the death spiral. A seller lists high, anchored to hope. They hear crickets. No calls, no showings, nothing. Nervous, they cut the price. Still quiet. So they wait, sweat, and cut again. But here's the trap. Every single reduction sends a loud message to every buyer watching. This seller is desperate, and the price is still falling. So what do buyers do? They wait for the next cut. Each reduction, instead of attracting offers, actually trains buyers to hold out longer. The seller is chasing the market downhill, and the market keeps running faster than they can catch it. So here's the most valuable lesson on this entire list, and it's aimed straight at sellers. The number one mistake, the one that costs people tens of thousands, is chasing the market down with reduction after reduction. If you must sell in a cooling market like this, price it correctly the very first time. One bold, realistic, aggressive price will beat 3 sad little reductions every single time. Come in sharp, or the market will bleed you slowly. Number 1, Miami-Dade condos. And the number 1 place in Florida where for sale signs simply never come down? It's not a sleepy inland town or a quiet beach village. It's a giant. It's the Miami-Dade condo market, and it's sitting on a ticking clock. Here are the numbers, and they're sobering. Condo inventory across South Florida has ballooned toward double-digit months of supply. Miami-Dade condo median prices have slipped below $400,000 for the first time in years. Picture that. In one of the most famous, most glamorous real estate markets on the planet, condos are stacking up faster than anyone can sell them. So what's poisoning the well? It's the same monster we met on Marco Island. But here it's unleashed on a massive citywide scale. After the tragic building collapse in 2021, Florida rewrote its condo safety laws, and rightly so. But the consequence is that thousands of aging Miami buildings now face mandatory inspections and fully funded reserves. The result? Six-figure special assessments raining down on owners across Miami-Dade and Broward, so widespread that the county itself launched a relief program, offering assistance to condo owners drowning in these surprise bills. Now think like a buyer. When a $50,000 or $100,000 bill could land in your mailbox at any moment, with no warning, how eager are you to buy in? You're not. You're terrified. And a market full of terrified, hesitant buyers produces exactly what we see: signs that go up and just never come down. The clock keeps ticking, the assessments keep coming, and the inventory keeps growing. Here's the practical rule that matters more than any ocean view. If you're buying a Miami condo, the reserve study and the assessment history matter more than the granite countertops, more than the balcony, more than the address. This market is being rewritten in real time. Read the financials first, or the dream could bury you. So there they are, 10 Florida towns where the signs never seem to come down. But before you go, let me pull back the curtain on the thing that ties all 10 of them together. The insight almost every other video completely misses. It was never just about home prices. Look back at the pattern. The real reason these signs stay planted in the grass is the cost of simply owning the home after you buy it. Consider this. Home insurance in parts of Florida ranges from around $1,600 a year in Sumter County to over $12,000 in Miami-Dade, and nearly $15,000 in Monroe County. Now pile on rising HOA fees, brand new reserve requirements, and those brutal surprise condo assessments. Suddenly, the purchase price is just the tip of the iceberg. Today's buyers aren't only asking, "Can I afford this house?" They're asking the deeper, scarier question: can I afford to survive owning it? And in 2026, across much of Florida, the honest answer is not yet. That is why the signs don't move. So what do? If you're buying, treat two numbers as your best friends: months of supply and days on market, and always total up the full carrying cost before you fall in love. If you're selling, price to today's trend, not yesterday's peak. And for everyone, remember that a shifting market is not automatically a crashing one. Statewide, Florida is rebalancing. So zoom in on your town, because the average tells you almost nothing. If this opened your eyes, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your town in the comments. I read them all. Next week, we're revealing the Florida towns quietly heating up while everyone looks the other way. Quick disclaimer: this is for information only, not financial or real estate advice. Always consult a licensed local professional before making a move. Thanks for watching. Now go make a smart one.